See you in the desert. Pursuit of Perfection. Presented by George St. Country Lawyers.
Good evening from the Grand Canyon. Boy, this is a different place to do sports from, Darren.
Yeah, Scotty, we thought it was going to be warm. It's the desert. Thankfully, somebody gave me some gloves. They don't really fit, but it's nice. It's cold. It's snowy. About 2 feet of snow here, thankfully, down in Glendale, Arizona, where the game will be played. It's indoors. It's not snowing. It's much warmer.
And absolutely, tomorrow is Media Day. Tomorrow is something that Dabo Swinney looks forward all year long to. Pretty much every day you talk to Dabo is Media Day. He makes it fun. He makes it entertaining, and he has all week long.
I didn't even know my name was William till about the 3rd grade, especially with William Christopher Sweeney. And I'm like, good God, and I had to remind myself how to spell my own name. They give the teacher the role, and so the role that the teacher would have with the first time they start computerizing that stuff would have your birth name. It'd be like William Christopher Sweeney, and I'd be looking around like, who's it? Hey, there's another Sweeney in here. I got a cousin.
Okay, just know that the battery situation, we don't have a battery. I mean, out of the plane first, along with the Clemson. On the ground here, so a lot of hand.
And one of the things likely Saban will be talking about tomorrow is his quarterback. Of course, Jake Coker seen kind of as a game manager, though he does have a pretty good record as starting quarterback for Alabama. Deshaun Watson, though, on the Clemson sideline, definitely not a game manager, more of a game changer. He's a Heisman Trophy finalist.
Absolutely. This is a guy who can do everything for Clemson, and he'll be called upon to do everything. A little chip on his shoulder because Alabama's Derrick Henry is a Heisman Trophy winner, but I think Deshaun Watson might rather have the ring than the Heisman Trophy.
For us to go, earn that title, we got to go beat the best, and the opportunity is in our hands, and we got to go, really earn it. They're not just going to give it to us. We got to go out there and work for it, and it's going to take, all 60 minutes, plus if we have, an overtime or something, but it's going to take every minute, and every play is very critical.
This game not till Monday, but this weekend, one of the biggest games of the year for high school kids. It's the U.S. Army All-American game down in San Antonio, Darren, and 2 Lowcountry players are playing in it.
Absolutely. We heard from Javon Kinlaw from Goose Creek last night, an offensive lineman, a defensive tackle. He's committed to play for the University of South Carolina. John Simpson from Fort Dorchester, he did win a state title, won a ring, but we don't know where he's headed. He's excited, though, for that big game tomorrow afternoon.
Playing against the top athletes, I was a little nervous, at first. Then I realized, I'm one of them. I'm one of the top athletes, so I can't get discouraged. Just as long as I, go hard and play hard, and it's going. I'm gonna do good. I feel like I'm gonna do real good.
So that will do it from sports here at the Grand Canyon, Darren. This was certainly worth taking the trip. Is this the most breathtaking thing you've ever seen?
It's pretty awesome, man. I got some free gloves.
Absolutely. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, still to come, 11.
All right, thank you, Dave. 2 Southern teams head west to battle for a national championship.
We're talking Clemson and Alabama. They will do battle in the desert on Monday. Sports 4 in the Grand Canyon State today. Scotty and Darren working for you in Arizona. Scotty?
Hey, what's going on, Dino? Yeah, we are in the desert in Arizona. A nice cold night tonight. It is not raining like it was earlier, so that is a good thing as we wait for the teams to arrive tomorrow about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Both teams fly in here to Phoenix, and then they will start their weekend media day on Saturday, then practice at Scottsdale Community College for the Clemson Tigers, then one final walkthrough, and it's game day Monday, 8:32 in the evening from the University of Phoenix Stadium. A lot of storylines in this game. So many storylines. We'll talk about plenty of them coming up in sports. We will talk about the storyline of Clemson's nerves. They haven't played in anything this big since, well, long before these guys were born. Some of the Alabama Crimson Tide, they have. We'll also talk about Alabama's offense, led by Lane Kiffin, not very well liked in some parts of South Carolina. So many different storylines. We're going to break them all down all week long as we lead you up to the biggest game in 35 years for the Clemson Tigers. That, of course, on Monday night. Until then, live in Arizona, I'm Scott Eisberg. We'll see you later on in sports.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Guard can say, get it and forget it.
Okay. All right, before we leave tonight, check this out. Apparently some people in Arizona thought Darren and Scotty were a big to-do. Peace out, boys. So much so they kept the camera rolling to catch the fans' reaction.
Ryan Seacrest, right?
Yes, a taller version. A taller version. And then she says, Darren, can I have my gloves back? And he goes, no.
Did they give her our phone number so that we could really fill her in on just how big they are?
No.
It's a shame.
His team is in Scottsdale, Arizona tonight. Scott Eisberg and Darren Stolzfus. They're in the middle of some cacti. Hi, guys.
Hi, Ashley. This is an interesting setup we have. We're not in the middle of the desert. We're at the Media Hotel, but it looks like the desert, so why not, Darren?
Absolutely, and if you'd have read the correct numbers, I wouldn't be here. I could go celebrate with the Powerball winnings, right?
No doubt about that. I don't think either of us have one, so we're here covering the Clemson Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide from the middle of the desert. As for these teams, they are in bed tonight. They had practice today. Before that, they had media day. Very interesting. Every player on both teams required to attend media day and talk for a full hour, answer any questions that are asked of them, and then of course the coaches had to do the same thing.
Yeah, they get their big press conference tomorrow, the formal press conference, but today Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney up on a podium. Everybody rapid fire, ask the questions they want to hear, and Dabo Swinney said, this stage, pressure? No.
Stressed about what? You know, I mean, I'm too blessed to be stressed. I really am. This is such a joy and a privilege. I'm coaching football at a place like Clemson. I got a great group of young men. We're in Arizona playing, for the national title. It's just, I love what I do and always have, and I don't try to hide that.
One thing that I certainly found interesting today is Nick Saban's level of respect for Dabo Swinney. He said back in 2008, 2009, he was trying to hire Dabo Swinney for his own staff at Alabama.
And if Dabo Swinney things had worked out differently, he may still be on staff with the Crimson Tide. Funny how things work.
He's obviously an alum of the school, and Dabo Swinney won a national title as a walk-on wide receiver for Alabama. Much more coming up later in sports. We'll hear from James Island native Tony Elliott, the Clemson co-offensive coordinator, on calling plays in a national championship game.
We'll also hear from Jake Coker. There's all this talk about how Clemson is the one that's out enjoying things. Alabama, the much more stern, professional-like team. He says they're having fun, too. We'll hear from the Crimson Tide quarterback. That's a little later in sports. For now, live in Scottsdale, Arizona, let's go back to you in the studio.
All right, guys, looking good. Thank you. Dozens of Clemson fans have been flying out of
opportunity to serve. Mayor-elect Tecklenburg expects to tackle the controversial Sergeant Jasper development project very soon. Also, he tells me he's spoken to former campaign opponent, State Representative Leon Stavridakis, about finding funding to complete 526. Working for you, Bill Burr, ABC News 4.
All right, Bill, thank you. Destination Arizona, mission accomplished. Sports 4 covering the Clemson Tigers and the national championship game. Sports director Scott Eisberg in the Copper State, also known as the Grand Canyon State. And are there any buildings? Have you seen any buildings at all, Scott?
Yeah, Dean, we flew into Phoenix. We saw plenty of buildings coming in, but I said, you know what? The viewers of the Low Country might want to see a desert, so we're going to show them a desert. We found one out here in Surprise, Arizona. You can see the mountains behind me. The clouds are kind of covering the mountains a little bit right now because storms are coming in. I thought there was no rain in the desert. Apparently there is some rain in the desert. We saw it today. That won't matter, though, for the game because it's indoors. University of Phoenix Stadium, a domed stadium, so you don't have to worry about that. But Clemson fans that are coming out here will be indoors. Media Day open to the public on Saturday at the Convention Center inside. We'll hear plenty from the Clemson Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide coming up later on in sports. For now, live in Surprise, Arizona, Scott Eisberg, Sports 4.
All right, thank you, Scotty. And tonight's
Perfection, presented by Jordan Sink Country Lawyers.
Tigers getting ready to go to Arizona. Sports 4 already in the desert. You need proof? There you go. Nothing but desert. Now explain to us exactly where Surprise, Arizona is and why are you there? Are you working for the Chamber of Commerce?
Surprise.
What's going on?
Surprise.
Well, Dean, that's where we found a hotel in Surprise, Arizona. There isn't exactly a whole lot of them around Glendale these days, with the two teams coming in with all of their fans. About 20 fans on our plane for Clemson, maybe even more from Alabama. But Darren Stoltzfus and I are here, and for Clemson fans to make the trip, it's got to be a big one. And it doesn't get much bigger.
Absolutely. Clemson hasn't been in this position to play for national titles in 34 years, but this national title they're playing for, so much of a bigger stage, so much of a bigger setting, but the one they won back in '81, pretty significant too.
Absolutely. Danny Ford still lives in the upstate, still certainly attends all the Clemson games or watches them on TV, and Ford weighs in on this game between Clemson and his alma mater.
But there's a reason that they're underdogs, is because they haven't quite caught up with Alabama in recruiting because there hadn't been enough years past year. But they can win, and they certainly can win. They got to play really well, but the quarterback, I'd rather have the quarterback at Clemson than I had at Alabama. So if the boy at Alabama will help Clemson a little bit, throw interception and fumble, that'd be nice. And as long as number 4 plays well, Clemson's going to have a chance.
And Darren, this one should be a fun one. Teams do arrive tomorrow.
Absolutely, and if Clemson does win, boy, what that would do for their program. For Scott Eisberg, I'm Darren Stoltzfus, live in Surprise, Arizona. Let's send it back to you guys in the studio.
See, I was asking hard-hitting questions.
I just hope there's not a surprise in their hotel room.
I know.
It's Surprise, Arizona.
We'll find out, I'm sure, as the week goes on.
Oh, I bet we
Dr.
will.
Eisberg and Dr. Stoltzfus. All right, concerns in China felt worldwide. What's being done to help squash the fears on the shortest trading day in history over there?
And a petition to ban Donald Trump from entering the UK may come at a cost. We'll tell you what the Donald Clemson returning next year. The players and coaches, they'd like their chances at making a return bid. ABC's 4, ABC Sports 4's. Phew, Scott Eisberg has the latest.
Last night's national championship loss for the Clemson Tigers was the end of a career for two Low-Country standouts. Both great, awe-inspiring stories. Porter Goude's Stanton Seckinger and Pinewood Prep's Jim Brown, both unrecruited out of high school, both leave having played in a national championship game.
Usually going in the fourth quarter, we're pretty confident. Usually we're pretty strong, but we gave up a couple plays here and there that ended up being big time game changers, and we can't get that back.
I know it's a loss tonight, but these 5 years far surpass anything you expected 5 years ago when you showed up on campus.
Yeah, the last 5 years have been unbelievable. Just what I've been able to see and experience because of football is, has been phenomenal. And I feel very fortunate and very blessed, not only to play football at Clemson, but even to be in this game.
Just a tough way to end a great season, We fought hard, man. We got a bunch of good guys around here, and just emotional because of all the relationships we got with all these guys, man. It's incredible. And I hate that it had to end like it did, but still very proud of the team and the way we fought the last game. It's tough, it didn't go our way, but that's how it goes sometimes, man. So.
How tough is it because it was so close? I'm sure in the fourth quarter you could smell it.
But every game this year has been close, man. We're used to winning the close ones, so I guess we held on to hope until the end, but just didn't fall our way, man.
So what's next for both? Jim Brown will look for a job. Stanton Seckinger will have surgery on the injured knee and then rehab that injury at Clemson before looking for a job as well. In Glendale, Arizona, Scott Eisberg, Sports 4.
All right, Scotty, thank you. Durham Bus Services has teamed up with Palmetto Good.
In the Desert, Pursuit of Perfection. Presented by George St. Country Lawyers.
Good evening from the desert, Arizona, alongside Darren Stoltzfus. I'm Scott Eisberg, getting you ready for that Monday night kickoff national championship game. Alabama looking for their 4th in 7 years. Clemson, this is something new, Darren.
Their first in 34 years appearance in the national title game. And, Scotty, it is chilly in Phoenix, Arizona. It's cold out here. Thankfully, they're playing indoors on Monday night.
They will arrive here tomorrow night about 5 o'clock, and then it's down to business, a little media day for them, and then they'll prep practice once, another walkthrough, and then it's game time. For the Clemson Tigers, it's an interesting thing. These guys have played on big stages before. They've played in the Orange Bowl. They've played in the ACC championship game. They've done well offensively. They know the drill. They know what they're doing. But this is just something different.
I don't think that ever gets taken away, the nervousness of it. Yes, we know what we have to do. We have the confidence. We've been there before, but, that's a completely different story. It's a challenge to be taken, yes. So when the challenge presents itself, you got to prove yourself. So I am preparing myself for that challenge. The whole team is, but, we're looking forward to winning.
And at 6 o'clock, we talked about that Bama defense, how tough they will be to go up against for the Clemson offense. But the Alabama offense is pretty good, too. Lane Kiffin, an offensive mastermind. He's turned that quarterback into something special. Jacob Coker and Derrick Henry going together. And, well, it's going to be an interesting showdown. But Kiffin says the guy on the other side of the ball for Clemson, the defensive coordinator, Brent Venables, he's throwing everything at the Crimson Tide.
Well, I think they do a really good job of giving you a lot of multiple looks. He likes to really see what's going on offense, attack the offense, and so probably as much as anyone that we've played, he has as many defenses. So, you go through the cut-ups and you see basically every coverage that you could see. So you maybe would take 3 or 4 teams that you played, in 1 month and say, okay, combined we see all this stuff. We see all that just in what they do. So.
This is not the only game played this weekend. There's a pretty big high school game as well, the U.S. Army All-American Bowl in San Antonio, Darren.
Yes, and 2 low-country players will be in that game. Javon Kinlaw from Goose Creek, the one we're talking about tonight, a defensive end, offensive lineman. He's committed to South Carolina. This a very special opportunity in the Lone Star State.
What drives me on and off the field, my family, my mom. They support me a lot, She gave a lot of stuff up for me to have most of the opportunities I have. We've been through a lot, so I just try to make every day that I get the best way I can. I just try to get better every day so I can provide for them someday.
Some college basketball tonight. College of Charleston playing Hofstra down at the TD Arena. Hofstra, a pretty good team. They've won 4 games in a row. They've also beaten Florida State already this year. Down to the TD Arena we go for this ball game, and one heck of a ball game it is. One heck of a performance for the College of Charleston, getting it down low to Nick Harris for the big dunk right there, and that's not the biggest play of the night, because coming up is a huge play. Jarrell Brantley, the steal, goes out on the fast break layup and throws it down. Just a ridiculous play by Brantley, followed up by a nice play by Marquise Pointer, and Earl Grant turns around after a tough loss at William & Mary and leads the College of Charleston to a big win tonight over a top team in the CAA Hofstra. 72-61 is the final from the TD Arena.
And how about that, Scotty? Hofstra picked to win the CAA at the beginning of the season. Now Earl Grant, they're 2-1 in league play. They've won 10 games this season. That's more than all of his first year combined.
Certainly getting it done, getting his players in, his system in, and now it looks like they're doing what they want to do. That will wrap it up for our coverage tonight from here in Arizona. Join us tomorrow at 5, 6, 7, and 11. We've got a special treat. How about Sports Live from the Grand Canyon tomorrow? That's the plan. We will see you then.
Sounds dangerous. Don't fall in.
It's a long way down there.
Darren will catch him.
You think? Here.
Hello, everybody. I'm Darren Stoltzfus alongside Scott Eisberg. Welcome in live to Scottsdale, Arizona. We are just more than 24 hours away from Clemson kicking it off in their first national title game in more than 3 decades. Scotty, today, the final day, just about talk.
Absolutely. These two coaches just ready to get this game done with. Nick Saban doesn't really like talking to begin with. Dabo Swinney has no problem talking whatsoever. But today, they have to meet for the final time. It's amazing how many times these same questions have been asked over and over and over again again for the past week, but they've got to keep answering him. And Darren, you were there this morning. What was kind of the feeling behind it?
The feeling was Nick Saban is done talking. People have been asking him things over and over again. It was really difficult to find an interesting Nick Saban bite, but Dabo Swinney, as always, charming and hilarious.
We had a great plan. We executed the plan very well. And that's really what it comes down to. You know, all that. There was two great teams, and it's always about the same things. You know, it's turnovers, it's winning your individual matchups, it's big plays and special teams. I mean, these are the same thing tomorrow night. These are two great teams that have, you know, they weren't picked to be here. They earned their way here, and you know, it'll come down to those same things. Very small margin for error.
When you have good players and you're able to recruit good players and you do a good job of creating relationships and helping them develop, I think, you know, the end result is you're trying to create value for them, and they are doing a good job on the field to create value for themselves as football players as well as the program and the team. And that's kind of been what we've tried to do, and that's the standard that we have.
Now, coming up at 7 o'clock tonight, we're so excited to bring you our hour-long special. Yeah, See You in the Desert. We're looking for a season of perfection for the Clemson Tigers. We've got all the angles covered, so many local angles as well as the big national angles, Darren.
Absolutely. We'll talk about Stanton Seckinger, of course, a captain on this team, even though he hasn't played much. We also have Jim Brown, the long snapper from Walterboro, but plenty of other stories that are tied to the Low Country.
Absolutely. Seckinger's is such an interesting one. This is a guy who really came unrecruited out of Porter Gaud, but he has made it. He was an NFL prospect until his knee really got injured. His parents have been with them every step of the way. We sat down with his parents, Stan and Terry. It really is a nice story we'll have for you tonight.
Their support is unreal. You know, that's part of what's, you know, helped me get through you know, these injuries, but obviously also the last 5 years of college. So you know, every time that, you know, I've had my highs or my lows, you know, they've been right there for me to support me and, you know, and to back me up, and, you know, to have that kind of support is really important, and it's helped me out tremendously.
Very few people get to experience this kind of thing at all, even playing D1 ball. And to get to the semifinal game and to win it and to go to a national championship game is just, it's more than you could ever hope for. So I'm just happy he's had this experience.
The amazing thing about the Seckingers, they live in Mount Pleasant. They've never missed one of Stanton's games. Unbelievable. They've flown to Syracuse, Miami, and, of course, right here to Arizona.
Absolutely. And Clemson basketball, a huge win today, 66-62 over nationally ranked Louisville. We'll have all sorts of highlights and coverage, and we're all talking football. See you in the desert tonight at 7 p.m., the Pursuit of Perfection, live in Arizona. Let's send it back to you.
All right, Scott and Darren, thank you for that. Coming up next here on ABC News 4, an oyster roast earlier today to benefit the Morris Island Lighthouse, which was saved from being lost to sea. More on this next.
First warning weather brought to you by Honda dealers of the Carolinas.
Do you need a second opinion on your
ABC News 4 Sports with Darren Stoltzfus.
It's the next step. That's really all it is. It's the only thing we haven't done. And we got a big challenge. I mean, you got to slay a dragon Monday night now. I mean, this is a lot easier said than done, and everybody knows that. You know, when you're going to try to beat Alabama, but you know, that's the way I would want it. And if it doesn't go our way, we're going to stay relevant. We're not going away.
That was Dabo Swinney this morning. Media Day here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Joins us live right now. I'm Darren Stoltzfus. Scott Eisberg, of course, alongside us for team coverage as Clemson closes in on kickoff their first national championship game in 34 years. Scotty, you heard Dabo saying the outcome not going to matter for the future. The Tigers are here to stay. Still a big game Monday night.
Yeah, they certainly want to win it, and they went to practice today with that mentality. Dabo Swinney leading his team out onto the field, Deshaun Watson following right behind him. And if Dabo Swinney is going to win his first national championship as a coach, he will likely do it with a huge game from Deshaun Watson. Number 3 in the voting for the Heisman Trophy. He runs well, he throws well. If he follows the game plan and is able to find a couple holes in that Alabama defense, let's see what happens.
Just do what we do, and I just, we don't focus on that. At the end of the day, it's 11 guys on the field, so it doesn't matter who's on the field. As long as we do our job and execute, everything else is gonna be fine. So we can't focus on just players. We got to focus on our job and everything else. It doesn't matter who we play; it's how we play. And if we play good and execute, we should have a good chance to win the game.
Now, if Deshaun Watson is going to play well, he will likely be put in a good situation by his offensive coordinator or co-offensive coordinator, but the guy that's calling the plays, Tony Elliott, a James Island High grad, Darren.
And I remember asking Tony on the field after the Orange Bowl, when is it going to sink in that a kid from James Island is calling the plays in the national championship game? And he said, don't worry about that. It'll sink in after the game. I'm focused on preparation, and certainly that's continued here in Arizona.
Nice thing for Tony Elliott, he has players to play with. No doubt he has guys that could make big-time plays, get big chunks of yards, and he hopes to do that. For Elliott, it's amazing. This is only his 16th game ever calling plays, but he will do it in a national championship setting.
I got to figure out, with the assistant coaches that I got helping me out on the offensive side of the ball, I got to figure out a plan of attack to give our guys an opportunity to have a chance to be successful. So the nerves haven't set in. And again, last year I was nervous going into the Oklahoma game, but calling plays versus Notre Dame, Florida State, ACC championship, the Orange Bowl last week has kind of given me some opportunities, to work at my craft. And I'm sure that once we get to the stadium, there'll be a little bit of nerves, but I don't have time to be nervous because these young men are counting on me to be on my game to give them a chance to be successful.
And from inexperience there to probably the most experienced coach in college football on the other side, Nick Saban going for his 4th national title in 7 years, his 5th overall, won that one back with LSU early 2000s. But the dynamic between Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban is pretty interesting here this week. It's been clear. Saban saying he respects Dabo. They're friends. They have the same house in Boca. They hang out together. But on the field, on the podium, these guys both pretty different.
Success is always tied to action, but action's always tied to your thoughts. So to get somebody's thoughts, habits, and priorities where they need to be for them to try to be successful is probably the biggest thing that I try to do a little different, which takes a little more patience. And I certainly have a little more patience now than I had before. I mean, when I was first a coach, some of these questions that I've been asked today, I would have responded to a little different.
Now, the teams are pretty different. The Clemson Tigers, much looser. The guys that were hanging out around Eric McLean, the offensive lineman, all wearing beards just like him. They were trying to make him laugh during media day today. They have that fun aura about them. Alabama, they're businesslike, no doubt about it. But Jake Coker, their quarterback, not a total goofball, but he says this team could have a little fun.
We have a blast just playing football, but we understand, it's a task that we got to stay focused for and make sure we're all about business. We need to be about business, and we are having fun doing what we're doing. So yeah, I mean, we're having a blast. I think the guys just stay focused on what we need to do, and I think it helps a lot, as far as being on the field, because everybody is calm and we can communicate well and get things done easier.
If he's going to have a good game, well, one of the guys that'll help him do that is Billy Napier, the wide receivers coach for Alabama, known in our area pretty well, a former coordinator at SC State and a former assistant with Dabo and under Dabo at Clemson.
Well, it was unique. It was a unique experience, and I think in the moment we didn't all realize what was happening. But I tell you, Dabo's got a great amount of self-belief. And instills that in his players. He does a great job running the program. And it's been amazing to watch. He's done an outstanding job. And when put in that leadership role, he took it and ran with it. And it's been fun to watch from afar and then be a part of kind of laying the groundwork there in the first couple of years.
Well, that'll do it from a chilly but busy day in Arizona. Scotty, we got so much more coming up tomorrow.
Absolutely. 7 o'clock, we have a special for you from 7 to 8. Good night from Scottsdale.
Catch Sports 4 on the Bobby Harton Show, weekdays at 4:25 on ESPN Radio.
National Championship Trophy tonight. Sports Director Scott Eisberg live in Arizona with more. Scotty?
Good evening, Dean and Victoria. It's a night Clemson fans have waited 34 years for. It's really amazing to think when you turn around and look behind me, there it is. There's the dome. There's the dome that the Clemson Tigers could possibly win a national championship. If you look out in the parking lot, unbelievable how many Clemson fans are here. I'd say easily 75% Clemson fans, all orange, very little red. That's because Alabama, they're playing for their 4th in 7 years, so they've kind of been there, done that. As far as guys taking pride in this, nobody takes more pride than former players. Guys like Taj Boyd, who laid the groundwork for this, who played all those years. Many call Boyd the greatest quarterback in Clemson history before Deshaun Watson. Boyd helped recruit Watson. Boyd still lives in the upstate. He trains at Clemson. He trains with Watson. He would not miss this day here out in Arizona.
Unbelievable. I'm definitely a proud alum. It's been great to see their process, their growth from where it started at originally when I was there to where it's at now and where it's going. Unbelievable.
How good is Deshaun Watson?
Special player. He's a better person. And I know that's cliche, but very humble, very modest. He carries himself in a different light. And couldn't be more proud of the guy.
Part of you jealous that you wish you were out there tomorrow night, or do you feel like you could take some responsibility for laying the groundwork?
No, I had my time with it, and I'm just enjoying watching these guys go out there. It's like one of those old gladiators. You sit in the arena after a while and you watch and you just reminisce on certain things, but you never really, truly want to head back out there,
Several media reports today saying Mackenzie Alexander, the Tigers' top player in the secondary, dealing with a hamstring injury. He's going to try to play today, but is hobbled by that injury. That could be big news for Clemson. And one final thing, we did an hour-long live special here in Arizona last night. If you missed it, please go to our website, abcnews4.com, and check that out. It has all the local stories leading up to this game as well. For now, live in Glendale, Arizona, Scott Eisberg, Sports 4.
All right, Scotty, thank you. Chief Meteorologist Dave Williams now joining us for the first look at the weather this hour. Got a little chilly this morning, Dave.
It did get very chilly this morning.
And Dave, I hear there's a rumor of snow next week. Is that true?